Hi guys, this is Drew Brashler with Northridge Community Church. I have been having a lot of questions on how to get the subgroup set up and actually routed into the left and right, and apparently my last video wasn't very good at explaining this. So here I have the X32 edit here on my Mac, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is initialize this so we start out with it clean. So I'm going to go to Setup, and then over to the Config tab, and then Initialize Console. And then once we do that, we'll press OK. And now everything is the way it is stock. So my plan is to have on the routing for the mains to come out of aux 15 and 16, just like they are stock. So we're going to go over to the left-right fader, turn that up to 0. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in a few things. So we're going to have a kick drum, and we'll make that blue. We'll have a snare, and we'll make that blue as well. And we'll have an overhead, and make that blue. Now we're going to go ahead and put in vocals over here. So we're going to make them red, because everyone loves the red vocal. So we're going to type Vox mic. Excellent. There's the Vox. And we're going to do green for a guitar. We'll have an acoustic guitar. And then an electric guitar. Too far. Put these in the weirdest spots. Excellent. Very good. And then we lastly have a bass guitar. Everyone needs bass. And that'll be purple. All right, so we have our drums, our vocal, guitars, and a bass. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a few different subgroups and mix these channels directly into the subgroups and then in the left-right fader. And by doing this, I'm able to apply some global adjustments to those things, such as a compressor on all the drums or some EQ on all the drums together. Also, another reason for doing this is it gives us another place to burn some gain, because when we bring in all the channels at Unity, it'll get very loud and above Unity in the main fader. So it's nice to be able to burn a little bit of gain in another spot, just in case you have too much gain in your preamp. So we're going to go back to our setup and then go over to configuration. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and set this up as 6 pre-groups, 6 subgroups, and 4 post-fader groups. And we're going to go press OK. So now you can see on this right-hand side that we have post-EQ on all these. Then we have our 6 subgroups, and then post-fader. 13 through 16, this is basically for our effects send. These are our subgroups. And then post-EQ, this is a pre-fader post-EQ, which allows us to have a little bit of sends to go to, say, a monitor. And so you can set these up to feed the P16s if you guys use those. But right now we're looking at the subgroups. So we're going to go down here to Bus Master, and we will find our first mix bus, which is going to be number 7. And so this is going to be our vocals. We'll just have some fun here. So we'll say vocals. So vocal bus. Okay, and we will make that red. And then this one is going to be our drums, just for fun. Drum bus. Okay, and we'll select a little drum set. And this one's going to be guitars. There we go. And then we also need bass. Okay, so to prepare these different things to be sent off to the stereo bus, what we need to do is we can go ahead and go back and press home. And then we see this pretty much gives us a overall view of the specific channel. So right here we can see our outs, and you can find this by pressing home, and then you can view this. But on the board, there would be the view button for the sends, and then you can also see the view button for the mono left-right. In the program here, I'm going to show you how to do it. On the board, you basically just go press the LR button for the stereo group. So we have our vocals selected here. We're going to go ahead and press LR, and that now sends this group to the stereo fader, to the stereo bus. So then we're going to go do that to the rest of our channels here. Now the other thing that we need to do is we need to turn these up to unity gain. If we do not do that, then they won't be sent to the left-right bus. And you'll hear my kids talking in the background. All right, so now that we have these 4 groups sent to the left-right bus, we need to go ahead and assign which channels are going into these faders. So we're going to go over to the right-hand side of the board, press bus 1 through 8, and then we're going to select the vocal bus, and then we're going to click Sends on Fader. Now you'll see that all these channels are muted. This basically means that all of these channels are not being sent into this subgroup. Once you unmute something, it is now going into that subgroup. So we're going to go find our vocal mic here, unmute that. Now channel 5 is now going into mix bus 7, which is the vocal bus. Now we're going to go do the drums, so we'll click 8, and we'll notice that Sends on Fader is still selected, and we will unmute the drums. Now the faders, you can actually move this fader on Sends on Fader, but it won't matter because the way that the subgroups work is whatever is post the main fader of this specific channel then goes into the subgroup, and then that goes into the left-right fader is the way that we're setting it up. So you can move this, but it's not going to do anything. So we're going to go to the guitar, and now we're going to, we're going to unmute the guitars, so our acoustic and electric. And then we're going to go over to the bass and unmute the bass and that. So we're going to go look through this one more time. We can see that channel 5, or vocal mic, is in mix bus 7, which is our vocal bus. Our drums are unmuted in the drum bus. Our guitars are unmuted in the guitar bus, and our bass is there. Now on the channels, we also want to go and select these from the left-right fader. So to do that, go ahead and click out of Sends on Fader, and we can go back to our DCAs. Now on each channel, we'll need to take the left-right off of the channel. So we're going to select 1 for our kick drum, take that off, snare, overheads. So what this is doing is it's taking this channel out of the left-right fader, and that way that the processing of this channel will go channel, subgroup, and then left-right fader. So we're going to go over to the guitars and do that. Now on this home screen, it's really nice because you can see which group it's selected into. And using this program, you can also select the subgroups that you want it to go in by doing this. You don't have to do the Sends on Fader, but on the physical board, it's a lot easier to do it that way. But as you're scrolling through this program, you can see that I have my drums in 8 here. My vocal mic is on 7. Guitars are on 9. And then my bass is on 10. So now we have our mix. Unfortunately, I don't have any audio to put through the program right now, so you'll just have to try it out on your own. But once we have our mix here, we can then go view our bus masters. We can do mixing between all the instruments here. So we have our vocals, and say you wanted the drums to be about 5 decibels down, the guitars maybe 2 decibels down, and the bass down there. You can pull gain off of here. Now another thing that you can do with these is you can go and set compressors on each of these. So we can go into our dynamics section and activate the compressor and set this down. There's a really good video by Dave Ratt about setting your compressors on groups like this. I would definitely suggest to go check it out because he is very good at explaining that. And I don't really want to cover stuff that's already been explained here on YouTube. So we can go ahead and set our compressors on each of these channels, and that way you can have a little bit more control over your vocals versus the instruments, or instrument group to instrument group. So this is a really good way of getting your board set up to have a very flexible and powerful way of mixing. Now, another thing is you can use your DCAs to assign to different things as well. So like your drums, say you wanted to have a DCA for your kick. Say you had 2 microphones, an in and an out. We can go ahead and assign our kick drum to 1 DCA, and then the rest of the drums to the other DCA. And now we're going to assign our kick drum and then our other drums. So now you have these channels going into the same subgroup. So you then have the same overall compression over the drums, you have global EQ that you're applying to those drums, but you now have separate control over your kick drum mics as one, and then all of the rest of your drums as another. And I like to mix like this. I have my, we have, at Northridge, we have a kick drum in and a kick drum out, so we have a Beta 91 inside and a Beta 52 on the outside of the kick. So as opposed to going and adjusting 2 faders, I have 1 DCA that adjusts both of them equally. That way I can retain that mix between those 2 microphones the same. And then I have another DCA for the rest of my drums. So my snare, toms, cymbals, everything like that then is on this one. So if it's a real, quiet song where it's not rock heavy, I can turn down the kick drum and have a little bit more dynamics in the room without as much kick, type of a thing. Using the DCAs and the groups, you can create a very powerful mix. The DCAs, remember, are not an audio path, whereas the subgroups are. So the DCAs are just a remote control to another fader. So that's the main difference between the DCAs and the groups. But if you have any questions, feel free to post below, and good luck.